Welcome to the DeFi Standard. This is Patty XRP, and today we are going to dive into another spreadsheet episode, which will be my newest version of a Songbird Network rewards tracker, which basically is going to take into account what an individual has earned to date via delegating wrapped Songbird tokens to the FTSO on the Songbird Network and then project out into the future based on the tokenomics of the ecosystem and some predefined assumptions, what you can actually make over a long period of time. And then we're also going to compare that to how it will look when Flare comes out, which I do want to touch on that part first. So I put together a couple of crude diagrams here or tables. So with this, what you can see here is I have one for Songbird versus Flare and then Songbird reality. And we'll get into that in a sec. But for Songbird versus Flare, they both have two separate kind of distribution mechanisms. Songbird was all dropped at one point in time. So the entire supply that was originally minted is out there, whether it's locked up with exchanges right now, with the Flare team, with the foundation, or with individual users or any kind of businesses that were due to receive the Songbird airdrop. So with this, I have the y-axis showing what should the APY be over time, and then the x-axis shows over time. Additionally, Songbird is the dotted line and Spark is the solid line. So as far as an APY that you would be receiving on a weekly basis, for Songbird, since all of it is delivered at once, in theory, would just be a flat APY over time, all things equal, and it would be lower than what we'll see on Flare for the first couple of years. So here we can see the main difference is there's 1.5 billion inflation per year for the Songbird token, so that's 10% of 15 billion. However, there's 10% inflation on the original supply of the Spark token on Flare Network, which is 100 billion. So that means the inflation per year would be 10 billion. However, at launch, only 15% of the supply is going to be distributed. And one of the big reasons they went for the staggered distribution was so that the APY from the FTSO would be much higher in the beginning before it starts flattening out over time when all the tokens are released. And that would take up to 2 to 3 years for that to happen. So, as far as what kind of yield you're getting, more than likely it will be higher on Flare starting out than it was on Songbird. However, the fact that some of these exchanges are holding the asset and not actually delegating them right now. And you can tell that by looking into, what should be the appropriate distributions of Songbird, how many are potentially on exchanges that aren't doing anything with them, and then compare that to how many Songbird are out there wrapped and delegated. To me, it doesn't look like these exchanges are sitting there and delegating their users Songbird tokens. Otherwise, we'd see much higher levels of wrapped Songbird out there than we do currently. So with that, in reality, Songbird is kind of looking like a slope like this. And I don't know if it takes, a month, 2 months, 3 months for that total supply to get out there to where we start going towards this just flat rate on a weekly basis. But that is why the rewards have been a little higher here out the gate, as opposed to on Flare. They're actually designed to be like that. In Songbird, they've just kind of started like that because of the exchange's behavior with the airdrop tokens. So, like, if we put Songbird reality and compared it to this Flare line, I'll kind of make it a squiggle here. It would probably look, I don't know how I did that. It would probably look something like this. So you can see it doesn't start out as high, but Flare should start out at a much higher APY. And that is because only 15% of the total supply is being airdropped at the start, but it's still vying for 10% inflation on that total supply that will be out there in 3 years. So that'll increase the yield, hopefully increase the amount of people that want to delegate their detachable Spark votes to the FTSO in the future. So with that, let's get into some numbers, since now you'll know how those should kind of work. And, long story short, your rewards are going to go lower over time until they start flattening out. That's just how it's going to work. As more Songbird tokens are released into the ecosystem from exchanges, as more people start wrapping their Songbird tokens and delegating them, that means the participation rate is larger, and hence the amount of people that will be getting rewards from the FTSO is increasing. So that's going to dilute your holdings as opposed to what you started with and delegating right out the gate when maybe we only had 30% of the supply participating, or it could be much less than that. So what I've kind of designed here is this spreadsheet, and this is something only available in our Patreon right now. Those are the people that allow me and Mickey and I to run this channel and do everything we do. So we have to keep some things in house to make it worth people's while to help support us. So with that, I have this table set up for estimated rate in the long term. And the way that you can figure this out is, what is this rate? Basically, have a payout period frequency. So it should happen 52 times per year, which is every week. So we know that you get paid out every Saturday on Songbird Network, and then you can compound the previous week's rewards into the next week's. Additionally, the inflation rate is set at 10%. And then I'm going to say in the long term that the participation rate is 10 or 50% in the long term. It could be higher, it could be lower. I don't know what it's going to eventually settle out at on Songbird. On Flare Network, I imagine the long-term participation rate's probably somewhere between like 65 and 85%. That's just me guessing and speculating, though, but kind of comparing it to staking networks. However, I think people are incentivized more to participate in the FTSO than they are to actually just stake assets in a proof of stake protocol. So with this, if I just change this to once a year, if we have a 10% inflation rate and a 50% participation rate, and the payout frequency is just once per year, then I would expect somebody to make 20% return on their wrap Songbird holdings per year. Additionally, if we change this to back to 52 payout periods per year, that gives us a weekly rate of 0.384615% with a 50% participation rate. Obviously, if this participation rate is 75, that's going to decrease. And also, if we looked at that as a payout over the course of an entire year, it would be 13.33% APY, which honestly is still pretty good when you look at a lot of these proof of stake networks that are doing maybe 7 or 8%. Some of them are much higher, like Polkadot does offer. I think their ideal APY would be 20%. It's, more around like 10 to 15% right now. But, that's all going to have to do with how many people participate in these kind of network rewards that are set up on the protocol. So I'm going to put this back to the 50%, and we'll just talk about, and change this to 52. So the spreadsheet will work. We're going to look at if you started delegating on week 1, and let's say you had 10,000 wrapped Songbird tokens delegated for the first epoch and you received those rewards. Additionally, if you bought Songbird, let's just say off the exchange, I add in 1,000 Songbird to just give a scenario like that. Additionally, these are the first 2 real rates of return that I got. So I went and plugged those in. And this spreadsheet will take into account the rate of decline in the reward rate and also set a minimum reward rate to match this average that people should get, all else equal, if all signal providers are performing at the same level. Obviously, if you have signal providers performing above this rate, you can earn more. If they're less, you could earn less. So that's kind of the one caveat with this. But over the course of an entire year, let's say if you started, or actually we'll take out this 1,000 purchase. Say you started with 10,000 and over the course of 52 weeks, you would potentially earn almost, 2,920 Songbird, which if we do that based on what we started delegating with, that would be a 29% return over the course of an entire year. Personally, I think that's pretty great because we know that you can use your wrap Songbird token somewhere else simultaneously and earn additional yield as well. So to me, that's really powerful. And, this rate for the first year should be even higher on Flare. If I were to guess at this point from some of the models I put together, it should probably be over 50% and possibly higher. But we'll have to see about that. If a ton of people participate right out the gate and it just stays that way, it may be, closer to what we're going to see on Songbird. Additionally, I think this model currently kind of undersells how much you could potentially make in the first 52 weeks. So with that, at the current rate of decline I had after 2 weeks, which is not a lot of data, we can see in week 7, I'm going to hit that minimum amount, all things equal, that I would get paid out for each week after that. I don't know if I'm entirely convinced that all the exchanges are going to be releasing the Songbird tokens within, 5 weeks from now or 4 weeks from now. So I think it could take longer, and maybe we don't see this kind of minimum level I have set out here until 3 months after the initial launch of the FTSO. So we'll have to see how that goes, but hopefully this can kind of give you an idea of what you can earn. And obviously, any wrap songbird you have will be, exposed to price appreciation or depreciation. So that volatility exposure to the underlying asset, which is songbird. So if it goes up in price, then so too will, how much you have in total value. Additionally, you could, utilize the wrap songbird in some of the different protocols that are going to be available on Songbird Network in the future, whether it be through Songbird Finance or Probity, which is launching their protocol on Songbird. And I'm sure we'll see more projects come out that eventually want to go on Flare that will provide you other opportunities to use your wrap Songbird tokens. But yeah, I think that's going to, wrap it up for now. Definitely think that, anybody starting now as far as delegations within a year, you should probably make around 20 to 30%. It seems like it could definitely be higher on Songbird, and we would, for the reasons I outlined earlier, expect it to be an even higher rate on the Flare network once that goes live here, probably towards end of November, early December, it looks like. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I just really hope you can get an idea and help you plan out for, the next year or more on what you can earn through your delegations to signal providers to help with the FTSO process. And remember, in the future, when we have F assets on Songbird and on Flare Network, if you have any F assets, those come with a detachable vote as well. And you may see signal providers actually incentivize you to give that voting power to them, especially ones that maybe haven't been performing very well or have really low voting power. That could be helpful to them. And also, you really want to delegate your detachable F asset votes, because if you're trying to find a price between FXRP and Spark and all the delegators are Spark holders, well, that's kind of outweighing the representation of F asset holders. And for that, the system will scale up the F asset votes, but it's going to be more accurate the more people with F assets that go ahead and delegate. And like I said earlier, with the wrap songbird vote, that's detachable, so you can still use your F asset somewhere else. And also, the other reason is the FTSO is what keeps the one-to-one, issuing rate of XRP to FXRP in line with each other. You may have a little basis risk where the price floats up or down, but relatively it should be of equal value. And that's going to be really important if you want to maintain that you do, if you're going to mint F assets, also delegate those votes to signal providers in the future. But that'll wrap it up. This is the DeFi standard. I'm Patty XRP, and I'm out.